Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast. Boro just about curtailed the Deepdale Curse to make it 5 games unbeaten in the Championship, and I'm delighted to be joined by Tom and Matt for this one. As always, guys, we will kick off with our one key takeouts for this game. So, Matt, do you want to tell us what your key takeout was from yesterday's draw against Preston?
Yeah, firstly, I need new glasses because of the opening equaliser. So the £160 bill that I'm having to go and pay today at the opticians is one huge takeout of my bank account from yesterday. But I guess on the pitch, it was that if you can't win a game, don't lose a game. And if you don't play well, come away with something. And I think that is a huge thing that a team needs to have in its armory, I think, across a 46-game season. You're not going to play well every week. As Rob Edwards alluded to, teams aren't just going to let you play. You have to earn the right to beat a team, and that's never easy in the Championship, especially Deepdale, as we well know. So, yeah, even though it was a rough game at times yesterday, the more I think about yesterday, the more I come away from it feeling more and more positive about getting that point in the way we did yesterday. And it just keeps the unbeaten run going, the momentum going as well. So, yeah, sadly, our winning streak didn't continue. We didn't break the record, sadly, but still to come away from that with something I think is still huge for us.
Matt's glasses held up by hopes and dreams.
Tom, currently, my headphones are actually holding them up, to be fair.
I'm wondering if Matt's glasses are like a Horcrux for the away day curse now. You just need to destroy something else and...
Oh, God.
I mean, in terms of key takeout from yesterday, I think a lot of people kind of came away with the same one in that was a game that we would have lost last season. And it might not have been the case a couple of years ago under Carrick, but definitely last season that would have been one where as soon as they scored, it would have either been they'd have made it more, or if they scored the second, I don't think we'd have recovered as well as we did. So it did show great character, to channel me in a Brendan Rodgers there. But it is showing the character and the togetherness of the team. And what I really liked from yesterday was after both goals, the willingness from Boro to just get on with it and get a second. Obviously, it didn't happen with the first one because of some Doyle throwing a flare onto the pitch, which delayed the restart for quite a bit. But, it's a bit of an intangible, but I'd definitely preferred Boro to be able to kind of get straight back on with it. I thought we had the better of the game after that equaliser, and then it felt like a bit of a sucker punch at the end where Preston got the goal off the corner. And I was looking at that thinking, I should have half expected this. The last time I went to Deepdale was when it was Carrick's first game and Akpom had scored, and then I feel like Preston scored in similar circumstances in that game, and it was down the other end. I think that game did finish 2-1. So I was looking at it thinking, history repeating itself. And then the fact that we go down the other end, we make an attacking sub straight afterwards and bring Jones off for Hansen, go down the other end, and then Hansen plays such a... Well, did he score? Did Alan Brown score? But, he plays such an instrumental role in that equaliser, which... The way the ball was ricocheting round, it had similar vibes to the Reading goal in the promotion season. I'm just glad it found a way in eventually, and it did go in Heckenbottom. If you listen out there, I know you're not, but yeah, it was great character to come back those couple of times, and I think in the end it was probably fair, but we could have nicked it, and although first half performance really wasn't great, second half I did think we'd done enough to at least deserve what we came away with.
Yeah, I think my key takeout was basically similar. We found a way to get something from that game, and I am so very glad that we did, because I hate us going to Deepdale. It's been such a rotten ground for Boro over the years. We haven't won there since 2020, and that wait still goes on. But it's kind of got to the point where even a draw against Preston at Deepdale is a good result, and particularly the way that the game panned out yesterday. The first half, I think we were poor. Quality just evaded us, not even just in that first half, but throughout the whole of the 90 minutes, actually. I think our creative quality just wasn't there. But the fact that we were 2-1 down, we came back. We were 1-0 down, actually. We came back, 2-1 down, came back. Yeah, really good. 2-1 down on 88 minutes as well. I think that was a sucker punch, or it felt like it at the time. I was watching them celebrate and I just thought, oh, here we go again at Deepdale. I'm going to walk away from the stadium with that similar feeling that I've become far too accustomed to coming to this bloody ground of just disappointment. But we found a way to get something from the game. And I don't want to say if you can't win, don't lose, because I think Boro could have won that game. And immediately after we scored that second, I heard from around me, come on, let's win it now. And to be honest, the period from after Hansen scored and then the end of the game felt like about a second. I don't know what happened after that, but it was the 92nd minute that we'd equalised. And then it just felt like that period of 5 minutes flew by so quickly. But yeah, we got something from that game and our unbeaten streak continues. So let's speak about it more in depth then. No 5th win in a row, like we said, but the unbeaten run does go on thanks to some late heroics from Sonja Hansen, who was credited with the goal in the end. It was a chaotic finish to the game, but what did you guys make of how Boro played against Preston yesterday?
Yeah, I thought first half, I agree completely with what you said, Dee. I think we were very poor first half. I think it's partly Boro being poor, but I think also Preston did a pretty good job on us as well. At the same time, we looked sluggish. We looked a little bit slow. We looked a couple of yards off the pace. We just weren't clicking at all. And I don't think the front three were particularly clicking either. And I think it was clear that when we can't get Hackney and Morris into the game pulling the strings, it does nullify us massively. And I think they did a really good job sort of blocking out a lot of them central areas, and it was very, very difficult for us to get them two on the ball. And I think because of that, we were then trying to play a little bit longer, trying to maybe just hoof balls down the channel in behind to Conway or Sene, and it just wasn't working. And I didn't really see where our creativity was going to come from. Obviously, they got the opening goal, which was poor from us. Don't get me wrong, nothing away from Dobbins' finish. It was an incredible strike, but he shouldn't have been allowed to pretty much turn between Boro's midfield and defence and then have a clear run at goal before he obviously put it away really, really nicely. But yeah, I have faith that with Edwards and this coaching team, they are going to give us a chance in games with how quickly he will make changes, and I guess trusting that the changes he makes so far have all been pretty good. They've all worked. So I was expecting a change at half time. We got that. And second half, I thought we were much, much more improved. I think our wing backs got a little bit higher. We sort of pushed Preston back a little bit, and it felt like a Boro equaliser was inevitable, although I still wasn't sure it was ever going to come because it's Deepdale. And I've seen many, many away days there where we've banged on the door for 90 minutes and it's just never found a way in. But yeah, Target's goal was great. I mean, we'll get on to Troy Nipan, but oh my God, the skill to create that cross was outstanding. Another moment that came from a change from Edwards. Obviously, from that moment onwards, I could barely see, which wasn't ideal. But yeah, as you said, the goal from Preston was a right sucker blow. I mean, I thought after we equalised, there was only one team that was going to win that game, and I didn't really see Preston getting back into it all that much. And I remember when they got the set piece, I actually said out loud, "Not like this," because it's Preston, it's Deepdale. We all know what it's like, and of course, Arrow's a header into the side netting, and my heart sunk. My heart absolutely sunk at that moment because I just thought, it's just inevitable, isn't it? It always happens like this. As well as we play here, we always find a way of losing it. So to come back up the other end within 4 minutes and equalising the way we did, fantastic character, fantastic resilience, and as I say, just great that we managed to come away from that with something. So come from behind twice, great. Coming away from there with a point despite not playing well, fantastic. First half did bring up a lot of the question marks I think we have had over Boro, a lot of reservations around our creativity, which we still do need to improve. But like I say, coming from behind twice is a big thing, a big tick off the checklist for this team, I guess. and something we can hopefully take as a huge positive into the next few games.
I'll say about the first half. I do think it showed why Preston have won against Leicester and Ipswich at home this season, and why they're undefeated at home, because they did play well. While they did play well and stifle us, I didn't think we were at our best. And I did wonder, with the reports of the illness in the camp through the week, I did think there were a couple of players who were a little bit slower to react than they would usually be. I know Alfie Jones got caught with the ball at his feet at one point in the first half. I don't want to speculate on who else might have been ill, because it might be, I don't know that for a fact, but I did think one or two others just seemed a bit kind of slower to react to stuff. And I did think as well that having Sene and Conway on the pitch at the same time, I didn't think that worked particularly well. I thought Sene was quite far forward a lot of the time, and I think looking back on it, I'd much prefer our formation with the 2 10s rather than the 2 strikers, because as Matt said, we couldn't get Hackney and Morris into the game, but even when we did, we were trying these long balls over the top, and ultimately Sene and Conway weren't really getting near any of them. I have seen in games this season that we've created chances from pressing high and winning the ball in defence, and kind of pressurising their defence to make mistakes. I didn't really see much of that, other than, Sene closed down Story and got clotheslined at one point. But the ref wasn't interested in that. I will say about the ref, I thought he was horrendous yesterday. There was quite a few decisions. I'm not going full rant on it, because ultimately it didn't kind of make a massive difference. But there were quite a few decisions where I just thought the referee's either complete homer here, or he is just not interested, and he thinks that certain players' reputations are preceding them. Luke Ayling was getting kicked around and being given nothing. I thought Morris was being kicked around, given nothing. Conway at one point went down the left-hand side, cut into the box. There was a coming together between him and the defender. It wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a free kick. It should have been a goal kick, if anything. And he gave a free kick against Conway. And then there was one right at the end where, this happened right in front of me as well, so I know this was a fact. Nipan was coming down the left-hand side. The Preston player had a handful of his shirt. Nipan, in fairness, should have played to the whistle, but he stopped, turned round and said to the referee, who was 10 yards away, clear view of it. He's like, he's got a handful of my shirt, and the referee's just kind of like going and waving it away. I'm just like, I don't think the referee did.
I got that on video unintentionally without realising. I look back, it's 6 and 2 threes. Nipan has his shirt as much as he has Nipan's shirt. And what I will say, I don't want to be the ref defence squad, but our players were going down far too easily. Like that Luke Ayling flop that he does is a deliberate, it's like an intentionally, let me buy a foul from the referee. Did that a few times, the ref wasn't falling for it. And good, by the way, because I hate that. Paddy McNair used to do it all the time, and it just pisses me off. It's like, I understand why they do it, don't get me wrong, I understand it. But the fact that the referees fall for that 9 times out of 10 is really, is the threshold that low for a foul? Yeah, the referee was frustrating, but I do think that our players at times, not throughout the whole of the game, but at times, were going down and trying to buy fouls a little bit too easily, for my liking anyways.
I don't know, I saw one of them that Ayling did that was definitely that, because it happened on the touchline, and I think he kept it in with his hand. And I think eventually the referee gave a free kick against him for that. That's fair enough. But I did think there were other ones, especially on Morris. I thought Morris was doing well, keeping hold of the ball, and he'd get a push in the back and go over, and the ref would just wave it on. It's kind of like the opposite of what was happening in our last game, where against Sheffield United we were winning it but doing it shoulder to shoulder, and the ref was letting it go. That's fine, but when it's pushes in the back and stuff like that, and the decision on Conway, it looked like that was just because he disliked Conway at that point, because there was nothing there was nothing in that coming together from either player. That should have just been a goal kick and get on with it. And yeah, watching back the Cowley one this morning, he had a view of that and just let it go. And then when he's eventually pulled play back for it, he's going over and he's almost smirking as if to say, "Nah, get up." But really, you look at it, Story put his arm up to halt Sene's progress and chops him against the throat. Unintentionally, probably, but it was still a deliberate action to stop Sene's progress. I said I wouldn't rant about the referee, but I feel like that's gone on for a while. But yeah,
we love it, Tom. We love it.
You like I say, it didn't make too much of an impact in the end of the game, but he was frustrating me yesterday. But yeah, like I say, in terms of the first half performance, I thought Preston were doing well and showing why they've got the home record that they have this season so far. We weren't at it. A few people's look slower than they have been in recent weeks, so I hope this illness passes through the camp by Friday. Second half, as you say, Matt, we were all expecting a change at halftime, and we weren't disappointed. And it's still something that's really refreshing to see for me that we've got a coaching staff who are addressing these issues early and being quite proactive with what they're doing. Second half, I thought it was all us. Ultimately, when we got the goal, I did think we deserved it. We had a couple of chances before then, or kind of half chances. I was screaming for a handball from the Morgan Whittaker one, but the more I'm watching that back, I'm just like, no, that would be a bit harsh to give. And I did think, kind of off the back of that and the actual first goal, I'm liking seeing how our wing backs are getting up and supporting, because with the disallowed goal, it was Callum Britton who found himself in that position to put it away, and then it's Matt Target, and who'd have thought that our left wing back, or even like last year or seasons before, if it's Giles or any of the other number of left backs that we've had, who would have thought they're going to be in the box to finish that chance. It's nice to see we're kind of like overloading the box at times and getting people into these positions where they can take advantage. And yeah, like we've said before, the Preston goal seemed like a sucker punch, and it seemed like this is just what happens at Deepdale. But yeah, fantastic to get that goal back in the end, and such a relief to kind of keep that undefeated start going.
Yeah, Target's finish was really good, wasn't it? With his right foot as well. I mean, an unbelievable piece of play from Lenihan. You know what I appreciate as well? It's not only the footwork, but it's the fact that the pass/cross actually ends up at Conway's feet. So it ends up at the desired target, and it takes out 3 Preston players as well, by the way. So it's a brilliant piece of skill and a brilliant piece of end product. How many times in the Championship have we seen players do a little nice piece of skill to beat a marker and then spoon a cross out for a throw in or a goal kick? Like, it happens frequently, and I think that I just appreciate that piece of skill was met with a good piece of end product as well. And yeah, the celebrations were so good. Matt's glasses flew off. I shouldn't laugh, Matt, but it's I'd still, like, as a glasses wearer of about 15 years, I don't know how those glasses managed to fall off your head, but they did. Did we all think that Boro were gonna really kick on from there and potentially get that winner? Obviously, I know that Preston did notch themselves in front after that, but it did feel like Boro had the momentum, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought as soon as that goal went in, like I said earlier about the Doyle throwing the flare onto the pitch, I'd have preferred it to have been quicker, but I still think after they kicked off after that, we were in the position where the momentum was still with us, and I thought the game was only going one direction at that point, and I thought that was going to end up in a Boro win.
Yeah, momentum's massive in a game, isn't it? And I think had they not scored from that header, I think we would have our momentum would have continued, and I think we probably would have went on and won the game. So yeah, they're maybe a tad fortunate that they got that one moment from a set piece, which we have to do better from. We've waxed lyrical about Boro's set plays, especially pre-season going into the first few games. it was disappointing to concede from a set piece in the way we did, but it didn't. As much as it felt like a sucker blow, it's credit to the team that it didn't completely knock the wind out of us, as it maybe would have done in the past. We just sort of got straight back on it, straight back up the other end, putting the pressure right back on them again. And as you said, Dee, even after the 92nd minute equaliser, we could have still nicked it. I mean, we had a free kick. Matt Targett had a free kick on the right-hand side. And twice in the game, he had free kicks from the same area that both landed on top of the goalkeeper, which was a shame. Because they were well-flighted free kicks, just a bit too close to the goalkeeper. And I honestly did think at that moment, I've already lost one lens. Christ, if we go and score a winner with this free kick, God knows what the limbs are going to be like in the away, and it's going to be absolute carnage. But sadly, the goalkeeper sort of jumped on top of it. But yeah, it was great that even after that sucker blow, the heads didn't drop. I think Edwards made a point of that. The heads didn't drop. We just got straight back on it, and we went right back at them again. And I think it's the balance between wanting to win the game while also not losing it. And I think we did that really well. Also, another thing, and I know we'll probably get onto it a bit later, but Lenihan made a tactical foul towards the end as they were breaking. And I thought that was just another really... Yeah, I applauded that like a goal almost, because it's that little bit of experience and nous that you just need. Like, he clearly speared him to the ground like he was Edge or something. It was a great takedown, but yeah, that's exactly what you need in that moment, and they might have counted on us and scored from there. So that was another really good moment, just sort of managing their moments in the game.
Is that another wrestling reference there? Is this going to be a part of the Boro Breakdown bingo week after week? It's just one of you two, or Johnny if he's on the podcast.
It's been happening for the last 5 shows, Dana. You just haven't realised.
Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, I'll never realise. Everything just goes over my head. But yeah, with Boro in the first half, I was really disappointed with us, because I think in terms of our end product, there was so many floaty balls that just went straight out of play, or Everson just was able to pretty easily catch and then redistribute. It was bordering on, in fact, it didn't border on it. It exceeded frustrating, because I think we're so much better than that. Just for context, I think it was a little bit of a windy day. I was freezing before kickoff. I'm not going to lie. I thought, oh, Jesus, I've underdressed. Because at one point, the wind was pretty present, let's say. And I don't think that Boro adjusted to the conditions, in all honesty. That's not an excuse. I think it's just Boro need to deal with that, and I don't think they did, because the amount of balls that were just floated and then they just drifted out of play was so frustrating. And you mentioned about the wing backs, Matt, Tom, even Jesus. I think at times in the first half, I didn't think that Targett and Britton were high enough up the pitch, and a lot of the time that ball to Britton in particular was not really even a sideways one; it was a backwards one, and I think, because of the way that Sen and Conway were operating on the pitch, Conway was starved of service in the first half, and I think he got frustrated to a point where he was trying to get involved in different areas. And so instead of just staying central, he did venture out onto the left-hand side, which is where Sen was as well. I don't know if that was Conway just kind of taking it upon himself to move into those areas, or whether it was upon instruction maybe to outnumber Preston on that side, because they did play with wing-backs. But still, if that's a conscious effort to try to maybe gain a little bit of an advantage in one part of the pitch, I think particularly if it's on the left-hand side, you need a threat on the right-hand side, and I don't feel as though we maximised that threat on the right-hand side in the first half, and so I was a bit disappointed with us. Credit to Boro though, because in the second half, obviously they made that change with Strelec coming on, and we will get on him a little bit, but gave us a focal point, and I think that we grew in our performance in the end, which was good. But yeah, just a few little issues with our performance in the first half, I think, to the point where I wasn't really surprised that we went into the break a goal down. It was a great finish from Dobbin, don't get me wrong, but the way that I saw Boro retreat, and it's when Dobbin does a step over and just manages to get a yard on Luke Ayling, opens up that space, doesn't it, to shoot. And it's a great finish, to be fair, but it's just very passive defending. Not really what I've been used to for Boro this season. But yeah, poor first half, better second half.
I am interested, Dana. I mean, just it's the first game that hasn't really completely gone our way this season, and we did kind of speak over the break, especially when we were doing the stick or twist on the transfer show, and we've seen there's a lot of unknowns about Boro, and you were saying you want to see how we respond to setbacks. We obviously responded to 2 yesterday, going behind twice. Any early thoughts on that?
Yeah, there will be early thoughts. I think it's too small a sample size. It's one game, isn't it? I don't think that anyone's going to get any answers after one game. However, it was good to see that we did respond to both of those setbacks. In terms of the game as a whole, I think that Boro's team creativity and the way that we were creating chances as a team wasn't particularly great, and was what I alluded to. Really, the quality just wasn't there for us throughout the entirety of the 90 minutes. Really, it was the individual quality with Nipan, for example, with the first goal, and then a bit of a scramble for the second half. I don't really want this to come across as if I'm reducing the game to that, but the 2 goals that we scored, that's how I see it. It was an individual piece of quality from Nipan to get us through into a goal-scoring position. And then it was a bit of a mad scramble. Great corner, actually, I will say, from Matt Target. I think we will get onto that goal in a minute. But I want to see Boro be a little bit better in terms of the way that we create these opportunities as a team. I don't think that what's been more notable throughout Boro's start to the season has been our creativity. It's mostly been our really solid foundation on the whole, and then the midfield. That front three, I think Boro are working on it. I think they're yet to find the right blend. Maybe they stumbled upon it towards the end of the game with Strelic, Nipan and Conway. But I want to see more from us, I think, before I come to any roaring conclusions. But still, as I said at the top of the show, it was great that we managed to get a point from the game, because there's been a lot of times against Preston where we've come away with nothing. And given the fact that we did encounter setbacks for the first time this season, really, and within games, was really good to see that we, even with that, will come out of the game with a result and with a point on the board that keeps us top of the table. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but thank you to Derby County for beating West Brom. I'll make sure to give me driving instructor Melv thanks as well, and on the behalf of his team. But yeah, I just want to talk about Boro's late equaliser, because does anyone think that Sancho Hansen even had an inkling that he was the one that scored that goal?
I have no idea. I didn't have an inkling who scored it at all. I was just glad to see it win in. Where I was sat, it was to the right hand side of the goal, and it was really low down. So at first, I thought that first header, chest, arm, whatever it was, it had
was
some.
Strelic,
yeah, it was Strelic, and he was given memories of Hasselbank scoring against Newcastle with his hand in that. I think it was the 04 season. But yeah, he just kind of stooped to get it, and Everson saved it. I thought at the time that was in the first time. Having watched it back, nowhere near. Pops out, and then I just see Hansen lining up for like this bicycle kick, and I'm like, what the hell's he doing? Like I was half expecting him to miss it. Then he hits it. It's like it's bobbling around all over the place. I thought it had gone in again twice. I think when it bounced up off Everson, I thought that's in, and then it bounced up, and it's like it's suspended in midair for what felt like about 5 minutes, and then Brown jumps over the top. Does he get a touch on it? I have no idea, but at that point, it's over the line. The Preston player tries to clear it, and it bounces off the underside of the bar. Obviously, being in the stands yesterday as well, had no idea that goal line technology wasn't working, so everyone was just kind of like looking at the ref. Ref gives the goal, and we were just going mental. I was sat next to Yusuf yesterday in the game, and if there's any camera angles of the Boro fans to the right hand side of the left hand side of the goal, right hand side of the stands after that goal yesterday, you're just going to see me and Yusuf jumping all over each other, because it was such a moment of elation, but. Yeah, I don't think anyone had a clue who'd scored it. I think Alan Brown was claiming it at one point, and he might have. I
don't think anyone was claiming it.
Like, I don't know. I've seen the replays, and he's running back, kind of like celebrating and grinning his head off, and I'm like, is he kind of hinting that he got that? But I checked. The first thing I did when I got up the ground was check BBC to see who was giving it, and they'd given it to Hansen. So fair play to him, first Boro goal, and your first Boro goal is a bicycle kick. So
Yeah, it
Fair
was
play.
Fair.
it was crazy, wasn't it? I just didn't know what to think. I was right behind the goal at the top, so I was behind where you were, D, and it's very hard to obviously gauge whether the ball has crossed the line when you're directly behind the goal. I also thought it had gone behind the goal initially, like over the line initially when the keeper saved it. Obviously, the replay showed it was nowhere near. It's a real shame actually that Strelic didn't just knob that in, because the impact of him heading that into the back of the net on his debut would have been amazing. But like Tom, when I saw Hansen going to do a bicycle kick about 2 feet off the ground, I thought, what is he doing? But the best thing he could have done was hit it into the ground. And that's exactly what he did, because I think the way it bounced up and then obviously hit the goalkeeper's gloves, I think the spin kept the momentum going towards goal. It's much better than if he just, ballooned it over the bar like Aylan did first half when he had a chance. But yeah, no idea it crossed the line. I think we were all just looking for some signal. It felt like an eternity between it being cleared and the referee moving his arm to the point towards the centre circle. But yeah, I had no idea that goal line technology wasn't working. That's Preston's fault. That's their problem. To be fair, that it wasn't working for them. But yeah, I think when you look at the replays, it does cross the line. Just before he clears it, it is completely over the line. So yeah, just a good job the referee gave it, because as Tom mentioned, it did feel like at times yesterday sort of was making a few questionable decisions. And I guess in that moment, it's so difficult to be sure because there were so many bodies. So the safest thing the referee could have done was just say, I'm not 100% sure, I won't give it. And you can only imagine what we'd all be thinking had he not give it. We'd seen the replays. It would have been the ultimate Boro Deepdale defeat if we had actually scored and it not be given. So yeah, at least we can give the linesman and the ref credit that they did make the right decision in the end. But there's no better way to equalise, is there? We could have equalised at any point in the game, but to do it in the 92nd minute, a scramble in front of the away end, yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I saw before kickoff, it was when the goalkeepers were coming out to do their warm-up, that some person came up to the goal with a ball and just placed it on the line. And I'm assuming now, knowing that Paul Heckingbottom came out after the game saying that the goal line technology wasn't working, was probably them coming to that conclusion. But for all of the criticisms about the ref, at least we can give him credit and his linesman for giving that goal, because yeah, he didn't have the technology. I mean, the camera operator cut into Alan Brown is hilarious to me, because he has this kind of wry smile on his face. Camera operator wanted that narrative, let's be honest. I mean, I just saw him hurl himself at the ball because it's Lewis Gibson and it's Everson, who they both make a mess of it. Everson makes a mess of the whole situation, to be honest, from the point in which the corner comes in. Again, good corner from Matt Target, flicked on at the near post from Luke Ayling. It's just a complete scramble. And it was one of those moments where it's like, go on, and then finally it gets given. I mean, yeah, I mean, by the way, well done, Sonja Hansen, because that's a great moment of improvisation from him. Really glad that you mentioned there, Matt, about him hitting it into the ground, because I think that was really important. And yeah, everyone from a Boro persuasion just trying to run back to the halfway line to restart the game and try to get that winning goal. I'm so disappointed in the end, even though I'm happy that we got a point from the game, that we didn't actually make it 3-2, because I think the momentum was in our favour. We could well have done that. At half time, David Strelic came on. David Strelic came on for his first outing in a Boro shirt. I was very happy to see it. I noticed he was doing an individual warm-up with John Throw, I think it was, before coming on. What did you guys, Matt, I'm going to start with you. What did you make of Strelic's first outing in Boro colours?
Yeah, I think promising is the word I would use. Yeah, I think it's Strelic. Yeah, I was watching
It's not David Strelic, which was what the Boro chant was saying yesterday. His name is not David Strelic.
Just call him Davy Strells.
Davy Strells. Yeah, so Davy Strells. Yeah, I thought it was a promising start. Edwards, as he always is, he's fantastic with words. I think he described him as having an aura. And I kind of thought, yeah, that's a great way of describing it, because he did. He had a presence up front, and he just I don't know, I was just watching him. He wasn't always sprinting around. He's one of them players that just like he'll walk around for a bit. He's sort of reading the game. He's not just chasing a lost cause continuously. I think I like what Conway does. He'll just chase everything. Whereas I think Strelec or Davy Strells is, I think he's more watching the game, reading the game before deciding what he wants to do. And I just thought it was a really promising display from him. Made some good runs at times. Wasn't always fed the ball, but got in some really good areas. He's bigger than what I thought, by the way. He looks like he is a real physical, sort of physical threat up front as well. I just thought, yeah, I looked at him and I thought, yeah, he's going to be a nightmare for defences. He seems clever. We know he's a good finisher when he gets an opportunity. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how his Boro career goes once he settles in. And I'll be intrigued to see the makeup of the front three as well, which will be very interesting to see how that works. Because I think the three we had on at the end of the game worked. It just wasn't maybe they weren't in the right positions for me. I would like to maybe tweak that a little bit. But yeah, Strelec up front, interesting, promising. Very intrigued to see where that goes.
Yeah, I agree with Matt there. He stepped onto the pitch, start of the second half, and I was like, this is me being at pitch level as well. I was like, Jesus, he's massive. It's like I didn't know what I was expecting because I've not really watched any sort of like highlights other than the goal against Germany, and that was from like a Bristol City camera angle. So like he didn't really look like that
Google Earth.
tall. Yeah, it's from Google Earth camera, but yeah, he didn't look that tall in that video. So I was like, yeah, like probably like quick nippy striker, and then I seen him, I'm like, right, he's actually quite big. And yeah, I'm trying to like. I'm still trying to figure him out and seeing what he's going to be like, because there were times where I just thought he just looked really relaxed. There was a point over on the right hand side where he shifted the ball from his left foot to his right and pretty much walked past a Preston player like it was nothing. And I'm looking at him. There were times like that, and I'm like, is his quality that much that he's actually just too good for this league in some of the stuff he's doing? But then, he had a couple of like half chances. I think he was desperate for that first goal on his debut, and he maybe like snatched it at them a little bit. But I think there's definitely a lot to come from him. And, there's a big part of me that's kind of like starting against West Brom, because I want to see more of him at this point.
Honestly, I just went to the game yesterday for him. I'm joking, but I like to see him. You know what? I think if the Hulk had Pokemon, I think David Strelec would be like the pre-evolution. It'd be like the first in line towards becoming the Hulk, because it's like his back muscles, really. It's like upper back muscles. He looks as strong as an ox. I think his upper body strength looks like it would be a very valuable asset for him and for Boro. He's just got this nonchalance to his game, I think, whereby he knows he's got that quality. So I completely know what you were meaning there, Tom, in the moment where I think he was on the right hand side. He just sifts the ball from his left foot to his right foot and manages to evade the pressure of a Preston player. It's moments like that where I'm like, yeah, you do have an aura about you, like Rob Edwards said. Can we talk about Sver Nipan for a second, Matt? Because we did discuss very briefly his moment in the build-up to the first goal. He just looks like such a good player, doesn't he?
Can we talk about him? Yes, we can. Yeah, another mesmerizing cameo from him. I think when a player is hyped up as much as he is, you're kind of waiting for him to flop. You're waiting for that moment where you go, oh, yeah, we've overhyped this kid. But he just keeps proving why he's come with so much of a positive reputation. And I was in awe watching him yesterday. I just really enjoy him. He's such a great footballer to watch. He's so good at getting into space, picking up the ball in really good areas and carrying it. That moment where he had his shirt pulled, I know you and Tom were debating it early, but the way he carried the ball forward in that moment, the way he took it and carried it, fantastic. He changed the second half for Boro when he came on, and definitely gave us a more of a threat. And he's just that sort of player that gets you up off your seat every time he gets the ball, because you believe he's going to do something positive, he's going to create something, or he's going to beat one or two players. And that bit of skill was just tremendous, and I'm so glad it resulted in a goal. It's a shame that it won't go down as an assist for him, because what an assist it would have been. But yeah, just the skill to shimmy between two defenders. And then I'm really glad you made the point earlier, D, that his cross also was right perfectly where Tommy Conway was. And if the defender wasn't there, Conway sweeps that home. Wow, it had just been even better. But I think for me, he has earned the right to start now. I think the reason why he probably didn't yesterday was due to whenever he got back from international duty. But he's had a couple of cameos. I think he's definitely settled. He seems like he's already acclimatized to the Championship. I think you get him in that front three, and maybe then that will just notch Boro's creativity in the final third up a little bit more if you can get him in there up to speed, get Strelic in there up to speed alongside Tommy Conway. Yikes, could be exciting.
Yeah, very exciting indeed. A good cameo, game-changing cameo, and still improvements to be made with Lenihan, because in the build-up to the corner that led to Story's goal, he's just bypassed a little bit easily by Paul Valentin. And that was basically the only thing that I think that Lenihan could have worked on within that game. But I do think it's still worth mentioning, because this is an 18-year-old. He's not a refined asset by any means. He's going to have a few vulnerabilities in his game, but you cannot doubt his technical quality. It was a brilliant cameo from him yesterday, and an indication of Boro's strength and depth, because he made a difference, Strelic made a difference, and Hansen scored the goal that equalised for Middlesbrough in the end. So a big tick in the box for Boro's strength and depth in the way that they've recruited in the summer, at least in that game anyway. Tom, do we think the blend of Strelic as the number 9 with Lenihan and Conway just working off him slightly is what you would like to see moving forward?
I don't know, because it was a bit of a small sample size, and we were chasing the game. I think it should be a mix of those three, because as much as Strelic and Lenihan, they made a difference, and they're still really exciting and like the shiny new toys at the moment. I still think it's worth noting that Conway did really well yesterday. He was always pressing, he was always working, and he's still kind of developing as well. So I did rate Conway's performance yesterday. I'd still have him on the pitch. Whether he would be the 9 and Strelic would be the 10, they're both up top and Lenihan's behind them, or something like that. I don't know. I think it has to be a mix of those three, but I don't know in what way it would be best at the moment.
I think it would be good to have Strelic as the number 10 and then Lenihan with him as well, and then Conway's the 9, because I think Strelic can play that number 9 and that number 10 role pretty well. I don't think with Conway that he's the type of player that I reckon can do a job at number 10, but it doesn't really it doesn't make a good example of his strengths. It doesn't really suit his skill set, in my opinion. Boro fans have said, and I've heard it many times, that he's not a striker, but I think that he is. He's that kind of pressing striker. There's someone that's going to stretch the game as well and kind of try to break the lines behind the defence. I just think that to get the best out of that whole blend and to get the best out of Tommy Conway, play him as the 9, play Strelic as the 10, and then Lenihan with Strelic as well as the other number 10. I said it last podcast that Conway 9, Strelic is a good blend between a number 9 and a number 10, and then Lenihan's a good blend between a number 10 and a number 8. So I think Boro is slowly getting there, but I will say it was good that Strelic gave Boro a focal point, because they lacked that in the first half, and it was good to see that we didn't lack that in the second half. Unfortunately, there was a period of the game that kind of tainted a part of the game, I would say. Morgan Whittaker had another tough afternoon. He was, ironically, cheered off when he was replaced by his fair Lenihan, which is what I mentioned there, is what kind of tainted the afternoon slightly. Here's what Rob Edwards had to say about that moment after the match.
Incredible. Thank you so much for your support. I do have to say one thing, though. I don't want to see that response when I'm making a substitution. I don't like that. We're a family, And we have to, if we're going to achieve something, if we want to try and progress and move forward and keep doing it, then us, the fans, the players, the staff, everyone, we've got to be together. And Morgan, as from day one of us coming in, has been brilliant. He has been so committed. He works so hard, and we got to protect him, and we got to love him. And I don't want to see that, because I don't think it helps us at all. And so I appreciate the support. I absolutely love the fans. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but whilst we're in this moment and we're winning games and we're undefeated and everything feels good, we got to look after our own. He loves playing for this football club, and he's giving everything to us at the moment. And I've got to stress that. We protect our own, we look after our own.
We're a family, we've got to look after our own. That's what Rob Edwards says after the game. Your guys' take on that response and on the whole incident with Whittaker?
He's absolutely spot on, Edwards, and I'm really glad he addressed that after the match. I don't think he was actually directly asked about Whittaker. I think he made a point of it. And I'm really glad he's done that. You know, for all that we've seen Edwards so far, you know, he says what you want to hear. Yeah, he's a sweet talker and everything like that. It was really good to see him actually call out the fans, and I think it showed great leadership from him. And he's spot on, because, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with fans when they say that Whittaker's not being great. I agree. He's not lived up to the billing as yet. He's had moments, but for the price we paid, he's just not got going in a Boro shirt, really, and he wasn't particularly great yesterday. So I won't disagree with that. You know, we need more from him. But what good does ironically cheering a player off do? I mean, it doesn't benefit anybody in the situation. You know, his confidence is already probably a little bit low. Hearing that and coming off the pitch will probably just destroy his confidence further. And then going forward, I can only imagine that in games, it'll put more pressure on every decision he makes. He'll probably overthink things. It just doesn't do him any good. Like, it doesn't do the fans, the manager, the team, the individual any good whatsoever. And I think especially when we've had such a good start. You know, if we were in a relegation battle and we'd lost 4 games from 5 and the fans just wanted to take their frustration out on someone, it still wouldn't be justified, but you could kind of see where the frustration has come from. But he's been a part of a team that's had a fantastic start and has won 4 from 5, hasn't lost. Yeah, he's not been great, but why kill the good feeling and the good vibes by doing that to a player? It's just not necessary, and it doesn't benefit anybody in the situation. So I do think now maybe it is the right time to take him out the firing line and maybe have him come off the bench for a few games and try and make an impact. Just take that pressure off him. That would be probably what I'd do. But yeah, fair play to Edwards for coming out and just straight up calling that out, because I think he's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think this is an example that you can hold multiple thoughts at once, isn't it? Because I didn't enjoy Whittaker's performance yesterday. I thought he was poor, and I thought that a lot of Boro's attacks broke down with him. But at the same time, it was uncomfortable to hear that reaction and the ironic cheers. It really just doesn't help anybody. I'm always of the opinion that fans pay their money, they can react however they wish. But then I also think that some reactions are really unhelpful towards the team. You can think that Whittaker has been poor, and people will criticise him. I was hearing the guy next to me at the match really lay into him and criticise him. But as soon as you take that to the player, I think that oversteps the mark. And I feel so bad for him. And Sven Nipan came on for him, and I didn't even react to Nipan coming on the pitch because I felt uncomfortable, and I felt almost to correct course. I just won't do anything. Like, I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to applaud Nipan onto the pitch because I almost felt like that would be almost a kind of 2 fingers in the face of Whittaker as well. It just, I don't like it. I think he needs support, and people will say it's a 2-way street. Whittaker's given us no reason to back him, but he's a Boro player at the end of the day. That's the default. That's the default entry point to backing a player. And we've criticised players on this podcast, and I've overstepped the mark with Sammy Silvera, for example, and I regret that massively. I think that with these players, a lot of them just need that love, and I hope that Whittaker does get that love, because a lot of Boro fans will say that, we just, cut our losses with him. And we even got some questions this week do we give up with Whittaker, basically? But I think as well, a lot of Boro fans just want him to step up. They want him to perform. They want him to get a goal. They want him to be creative. They want him to be influential in the games. How can he do that when the fans are on his back? As you said, Matt, pressure will mount on him. He'll overthink things. It's just very unhelpful. And I must admit, I really didn't like that reaction from the Boro fans yesterday, who were otherwise pretty good. And I think it's very cringeworthy that it was not enough of a minority to just be, I don't know, ignored almost, or just passed on. Like, Rob Edwards heard it, and he heard it to a point that he had to mention it afterwards. That's a real poor showing of support from some Boro fans yesterday, and I really didn't like that.
I think it's worth adding as well the reaction from Whittaker when he got subbed off. I didn't see him walk off the pitch, but I heard someone around me saying, "Oh, he's not having anything from Edwards, and he's walking off." And I saw him walking down the tunnel, and putting all the pieces together afterwards with Edwards saying that, it's entirely possible and likely that Edwards has tried to give him a few words of encouragement when he came off, same as he did with Hackney. Because neither of them had a particularly great game yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It could just be that, Whittaker has been a bit emotional when he's come off, and he didn't want to kind of be around. He might have felt embarrassed by that reaction. But it's worth adding as well, we have just had a player leave us for reportedly he thought the fans didn't like him and stuff, and that's a player that's contributed a lot in the last couple of seasons, and he felt like the fans hadn't taken to him. He wanted out this season. Thankfully, we got a good price for him, and he conducted himself well through that process. But I think when players are doing that, and the fans' reactions aren't helping, I think that's a sign that things need to change. And it was a good thing, and as Matt said, great leadership from Rob Edwards, because ultimately he's not just the leader of the first team squad, he is the leader of the club at the moment, and he needs to help build that connection between the team and fans. And saying something like that, hopefully a lot of fans will think twice before their reactions to subs in the future.
Yeah, I hope so. But sadly, I think that, fans are emotional people, aren't they? And especially, I think football really taps into the frustration. And people have undoubtedly been frustrated on Morgan Whittaker. I will reiterate, I think it oversteps the mark to take that to Whittaker and ironically cheer him off. It's pantomime, and it doesn't need to be pantomime.
Yeah, I noticed when he come off as well, Whittaker did instantly turn to clap the fans, but he very quickly turned away, I think, once the boo started. So I think he visibly turned away, and Rob Edwards instantly turned towards the fans as Whittaker come off, and he sort of turned to the fans and clapped. But I didn't know if that was it wasn't a sarcastic clap from Edwards. I think it was a come on, what you doing kind of thing.
Yeah.
So off the back of what Tom said, it was clearly visibly, audibly loud enough. The second he come off the pitch, Edwards turned straight to the away end and tried to address it as to say come on, what are you doing? Let's get behind him. So I think that's another real shame. As you said, Dee, if it was a handful, you might get that at every game. You just don't notice it. There's probably every time a player's subbed who's probably had a bad performance, there's probably one or two around the ground who are thank God for that, and you don't ever pick up on it. But the fact that the manager did, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but the way Whittaker sort of glanced across, two little claps, turned his head, went straight to the touchline. I think that's also a real shame.
Yeah, and then the players were lining up after the match as well, applauding the Boro fans. And I was just watching the extended highlights back this morning, and I just thought Whittaker was there. Whittaker was a part of that lineup of Boro players that were applauding the fans after the game. And I kind of tried to put myself in his shoes. Imagine that all your teammates are clapping the fans in appreciation. What's your thought in that moment? It's not in appreciation. It's probably why are you giving me this stick? It's a shame. As I said, we can have our criticisms on players. I just find that particular showing of criticism particularly uncomfortable and cringeworthy. On more positive matters, though, Tom, I mentioned for Darragh Lenihan, that was his first start since the 2-1 home victory over Southampton on the 23rd of September 2023, almost 2 whole years ago. How do you think he did yesterday?
I thought he was fantastic yesterday. I thought he stepped in for Dale Fry really well. He didn't lose much in the air that I saw yesterday. He seemed to always be in the right place to win a header, and then caps it all off with that brilliant tactical foul at the end to halt a Preston counter-attack. It's I'd say it feels like he's never been gone, and that was the type of performance that you'd expect from someone who had played the last couple of years. But realistically, there's probably still a little bit of rustiness there. He's got a little bit of catching up to do to get back to where he was. But if that's the type of performance he's putting in already, then he can't be that far off. And he is once again showing how strong alternative or option that we have at centre back that he is. And I think just to add another little something there, constantly talking and organising throughout the game. So everything you could want in a centre back, and it was just really good to see him back. I'm just waiting to see if he gets a regular run now before I start putting my bet builders back on for when I had any time.
Oh, yeah, it was brilliant to see him. I think he was almost faultless throughout. Maybe had a part to play in Jordan Story's goal, not picking up Story. It was Alien's man, to be fair, but I think it's a mix of man marking and zonal marking, isn't it? So potentially a little bit of question marks over him there, but that was the slight blot on his copybook. I think yesterday was fantastic and brilliant to see. I think Lenihan has always been a brilliant performer for Middlesbrough, and I think that even with the 2 years that he's had out, it's never been lost on me how good of a defender he is. Same with Dale Fry as well, actually. When he was out, Dale Fry was out with a calf problem yesterday, which is why Lenihan started. Really good to see, because he's a fantastic player for Middlesbrough Football Club, and I'm so happy that he's back. He performed excellently yesterday, which was, a real positive as well. So well done, Darragh Lenihan. A lot of Boro players were saying after the game, it's been a long, hard road to recovery, and I can't imagine the amount of lonely days where he's been rehabbing by himself and he's been in the gym trying to get his body to be strong again, because he's had setbacks, Lenihan. If there was any player that summed Boro up yesterday, I know the theme around the afternoon was the resilience. I think that Lenihan himself has been a real showing of resilience, because he got that, was it Achilles injury, I think, at the beginning, maybe, or an ankle, I can't remember what it was actually, but he got that first injury and then he had another setback, and that's why he's been out for 2 years. Just 2 years of football, missing that is, I can't imagine how mentally tough that would have been. So massive credit to him for that. Before we wrap up, guys, are there any more positives that you guys want to mention from yesterday's game against Preston?
Yeah, I've got one, and I just want to give a bit of praise to Solbren. I thought he was really good yesterday. I don't think he could have done anything about either goal, but what I'm finding really, really encouraging from him, I think this is especially, it goes kind of like against my concerns when we looked like we were heading into the season with Solbren, as I wouldn't even say concerns is the right word, but worries maybe. It's really hard for an academy player to step up as a goalkeeper. It's the most scrutinised position on the pitch, and I think we've seen it with academy goalkeepers in the past where they come up and they'll make a mistake and then that spirals and they don't really end up making it. I just think he looks so assured in goal. There was a point in the first half where he nearly gave me a heart attack from thinking he was Edison, where he cut the ball back and sent the Preston striker for a hot tug. But other than that, what I'm really, really enjoying is knowing that when a cross comes in, he's likely to come out and collect it. And I think that, other than, when we've had, say, Travers, I can't remember the last one before him, because I know Dieng would kind of punch it at a lot. Glover would, Stefan would. It's really nice. And there was a point. It was actually the last kick of the game where their keeper had launched it up and he came out and collected it. I looked at that and I was like, I'm getting like, shades of Dimmy when he used to do it. And you knew if a ball went up in the air that Dimmy was going to come out and collect it. And I think Solbrin's getting much, much better at that and commanding his box. So he might end up being the type of goalkeeper that we've needed for quite a while.
Yeah, mine was just seconding what you were saying about Lenihan. I would have also mentioned Solbrin. I think Tom's made a good point. It's almost like he's got glue on his gloves, because when he collects, the ball sticks. Even when he's coming through bodies or even his own defenders, it sticks. So yeah, Solbrin continues to just be fantastic and couldn't do anything about either of the goals. But yeah, I just want to second what you said about Lenihan. I mean, what a great player to bring in for Till Fry. I think we spoke a lot, didn't we, about the drop off, beneath Boro's initial 11 in recent times. But to have Dale Fry come out, you think, oh God, that's a huge blow. But then Lenihan comes in, and yeah, you have doubts over his lack of football. But after 10 minutes, 15 minutes of watching that game yesterday, I'd forgotten my worries about Dale Fry being out, whether it's short-term, long-term, and I saw Lenihan step in and be so good, so seamlessly. I just think it's great to have players who can come in and be just as good as the ones they're replacing. And yeah, he was outstanding. And I just hope he stays fit. I just hope he can now just stay fit, have a good run, and become a real part of this team, because I think it can't be lost on how great of a defender he is. And I think when Tommy Smith retired last season, a lot of people were starting to look at Lenihan and think, oh God, are we gonna get the same sort of news with Darragh Lenihan? Because there was no reason why we weren't to think that at the time. So for him to recover and come back in and be just as good as he was before, fantastic, and real praise to him for mentally getting through that. And he deserves a good run now. So, maybe it's unfortunately going to come off of Fry's injury, unfortunately for Dale, because he's been outstanding as well. But yeah, huge credit to Darragh. He's a great leader and a fantastic player.
Yeah, echo that completely. Just a final positive from me. Well done on Rob Edwards and his coaching staff for getting Manager of the Month for August. I know that he's really stressed the importance of it being a together thing, and that's why in the photo that you saw on social media, it was literally everybody from the physios to the social media team. It was literally everybody, the reception staff as well, were in there. He really wants to drill home this idea of togetherness, which is why it hurts, I think, a little bit. It definitely hurts for him that the reaction to Morgan Whittaker was what it was yesterday. But yeah, massive congratulations to Rob Edwards and co for getting that Manager of the Month award. What curse? I mean, the Deepdale Curse was curtailed a little bit. The Manager of the Month award was also curtailed a little bit as well. We will wrap things up for now then. Thank you two for joining me. Matt, I hope that you get your glasses sorted out. I know how important they are, being a glasses wearer myself. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a 5-star rating on your podcast providers. We massively appreciate it. If you also want to donate to the podcast, you can do on Buy Me a Coffee. The link is always in the description of our episodes. We will be back sometime next week, but until then, take care and up the Boro.